No one noticed the dog freeze in the middle of the snow-covered street except the darkness itself. Christmas Eve had wrapped the small town of Hollow Creek in warmth that didn't quite reach the bones. Lights blinked along rooftops, carols drifted from the church square, and laughter spilled from open doors. Families hurried home with wrapped gifts, boots crunching softly over fresh snow. To everyone else, the night felt safe, familiar, perfect. But Rex stopped walking. His paws sank into the snow as his ears lifted sharply, body stiffening. The scent hit him all at once, sharp, unfamiliar, and wrong. It cut through the sweetness of pine trees and roasted chestnuts like a blade. Rex's breath slowed. His tail dropped. Something had changed. His owner, Mark Harlan, tugged the leash gently. "Come on, boy," he said, smiling. "You're getting cold." Rex didn't move. His dark eyes tracked the far end of the street, where the glow of Christmas lights faded into a stretch of shadow near the old railway path. The wind shifted, carrying a faint sound fabric brushing against snow. Hurried footsteps, then silence. Rex's nose twitched again. Fear had a smell. So did Lies. Mark laughed softly. "You're always dramatic on Christmas," he said, unaware. With a final tug, he guided Rex forward. But Rex looked back, and somewhere beyond the lights, a child screamed. Just once before, the wind swallowed it whole. I share new stories here every day, and I would really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Now, let's jump back into my story. I'm sure you love it. If you keep listening till the end, write in the comments and tell me which part of the world you're watching this story from. I'm really interested to see how far this story has traveled. By the time Mark and Rex reached their house, the town bells rang out for evening prayers. Inside, warmth and food dulled human senses. Rex lay near the door, restless. He ignored the food placed in his bowl. His ears kept turning toward the night. Across town, Emily Carter, 7 years old, had wandered away from the Christmas market chasing a falling paper star. Her red coat vanished between stalls. When her mother turned around, Emily was gone. The panic began quietly. First, hurried footsteps, then raised voices. Then the sound Hollow Creek feared most, the church bell ringing again. Not for celebration, but warning. Mark stood abruptly as the bell echoed. Rex was already on his feet, nails scraping against the wooden floor. The dog barked once sharp and urgent. "Easy," Mark murmured, opening the door as neighbors stepped outside. Snow fell harder now, thick and blinding. Someone shouted Emily's name. Another voice cracked in fear. Rex lunged forward, leash forgotten, sprinting into the storm. "Rex!" Mark shouted, chasing after him. But Rex wasn't running blindly. The scent was stronger now. He followed it past the market stalls, through overturned decorations and half-burned lanterns. Human eyes searched everywhere except where Rex led toward the dark railway path. Abandoned years ago after an accident no one liked to remember. The path was quiet. To quiet, Rex slowed, nose low to the ground. Fresh boot prints cut into the snow, uneven and hurried. A smaller set of prints struggled beside them for a short distance, then disappeared. Rex growled low in his throat. A scarf lay half buried near the trees. Red children's mark arrived seconds later, breath ragged. He followed Rex's gaze and felt his chest tighten. Oh no. Flashlights flickered as others arrived. Phones rang. Someone began to cry. The snowstorm thickened, erasing tracks faster than humans could follow. But Rex remembered. He lifted his head, ears sharp, eyes locked on the black tree line ahead. Whatever had taken the child had gone into the woods, and Rex was not letting Christmas end like this. The woods swallowed sound the moment. Rex crossed the tree line, Snow clung to the branches in heavy sheets, bending them low, muffling the wind and turning the forest into a cold, breathless maze. The lights of Hollow Creek faded behind him, replaced by darkness broken only by the weak beams of flashlights bobbing in the distance. Rex moved ahead of them all, nose close to the ground, breath steaming with every step. The scent was clear now: fear, sweat, leather boots. And underneath it all, the faint, desperate smell of a child who had been crying for far too long. Mark stumbled after him, heart pounding. "Rex, slow down," he called, though part of him already knew it was useless. When Rex worked like this, nothing could pull him off a trail. Branches snapped underfoot. Somewhere behind them, volunteers shouted Emily's name again and again, their voices growing weaker as the forest thickened. Snow began to fall harder, erasing footprints almost as soon as they appeared. Human eyes struggled. Human memories failed, but Rex didn't need either. He followed the trail down a narrow slope toward the old railway line. Long abandoned, but still cutting through the forest like a scar. Rusted tracks peeked through the snow, and beside them the smell changed oil. Metal, old rot. Rex hesitated only a second before pushing forward. A sound drifted through the trees. Not a scream this time. A soft whimper. Rex's ears snapped upright. His body tensed, every muscle ready. He barked once, sharp and loud, then bolted. Mark ran after him, lungs burning. "I hear something," he shouted to the others. Flashlights swung wildly as people followed. Slipping and falling in their panic, they reached an old maintenance shed near the Traxa. Crooked wooden structure everyone in town pretended didn't exist anymore. Its door hung open, swaying slightly in the wind. Rex skidded to a stop. The scent was strongest here. Inside the shed, darkness pressed close. The smell of damp wood and rust filled the air. Rex crept forward, growling low. His claws scraped softly against the floor. Then he saw her. Emily was curled against the far wall. Red coat dusted white with snow, her small hands clutching her knees. Her face was streaked with tears, eyes wide with terror, and she wasn't alone. A man stood near the doorway, back turned, shoulders tense. He wore a thick jacket and gloves, his boots wet with melting snow. He froze when Rex growled. "Easy," the man muttered. More to himself than the dog, Rex didn't ease. He stepped between the man and the child. Teeth bared, body low and ready. His growl deepened, echoing off the wooden walls. This wasn't fear anymore. This was warning. The man turned slowly, eyes darting. "I didn't mean," he started, then stopped as Rex lunged. Rex didn't bite. He slammed into the man's legs, knocking him off balance. The man crashed into a stack of rotting crates, swearing as he fell. Rex stayed on him, barking ferociously, snapping inches from his face, never letting him stand. Mark burst through the door moments later, flashlight shaking in his hand. The sight stopped him cold. Emily cried out, "Mommy!" Mark didn't think. He tackled the man, pinning him to the floor as others poured in behind him. Someone grabbed Emily and wrapped her in a coat. Someone else called the police, voice trembling with relief. The man didn't fight much after that. He just kept muttering excuses, said he panicked, said he didn't know why he took her, said he never meant to hurt anyone. No one listened. Rex stood beside Emily as she was carried out, his body finally relaxing, tail wagging just slightly. She reached out and buried her fingers in his fur, clinging to him as if he were the only solid thing left in the world. Outside, the storm began to ease by the time the police arrived. The town had followed the trail of flashlights to the shed. Tears turned to sobs of relief. Parents held their children tighter. The bells rang again, this time in gratitude. Mark knelt beside Rex, hands shaking as he hugged him close. "You saved her," he whispered. "You knew?" Rex lifted his head, eyes scanning the woods once more, because deep down he knew this night wasn't finished yet. The police lights painted the trees in slow pulses of red and blue, turning the forest into something unreal, like a bad dream that refused to end. Emily was gone now, wrapped in blankets and surrounded by adults, her cries fading into quiet sobs as relief settled in. The man was handcuffed, sitting on the back bumper of a patrol car, staring at the snow like it might explain him. People whispered theories. Panic softened into shaky laughter. But Rex didn't relax. He stood near the edge of the woods, head low, ears alert, nose working the air again and again. The main scent trail, the one that had led to the shed, was over. That danger was finished. Another one wasn't. Mark noticed it when Rex pulled gently against his grip. "Rex," he murmured. "Easy, boy. It's done." Rex gave a low, uneasy whine. The scent near the shed was wrong, not just the man's boots and fear, but something older, layered beneath it. Something that had been here before tonight. The dog stepped forward, then stopped, staring into a darker section of the forest where no flashlights pointed. Mark followed his gaze and felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. "Officer," Mark said to the nearest policeman, lowering his voice, "my dog's still tracking something." The officer sighed, exhausted. "Sir, the child's safe. The suspect's in custody," Rex growled. Not loud, not aggressive, just enough to make the officer pause. "Dogs don't do that for no reason," Kay said quietly. After a moment's hesitation, the officer nodded. "5 minutes," he said. "That's all." Rex moved immediately. He led them away from the shed, deeper into the woods, following a faint trail that zigzagged unnaturally, like someone had doubled back more than once. Snow thickened under the trees, untouched by footprints now. Human eyes saw nothing. Rex smelled everything. Old sweat, old fear, rust, and something else, damped concrete and rot, carried faintly on the wind. The forest thinned near the riverbank, where the old railway bridge stood abandoned, its beams blackened with age. Beneath it, half hidden by brush and snow, was something the town had forgotten. A storm cellar door. Rex barked sharply and scratched at it. The metal groaned as Mark and the officer forced it open. A wave of cold, stale air rolled out, heavy and wrong. The flashlight beam cut downward, revealing narrow concrete steps descending into darkness. "Jesus," the officer muttered. They went down slowly. The cellar wasn't large, but it was filled with signs of recent used discarded food wrappers, blankets, children's drawings taped to the wall. Mark's stomach twisted as his light passed over them. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't panic. This was a place. Rex moved to the far corner where a small backpack lay open. Inside were crayons, a storybook, and a name written in shaky letters on the first page. Emily Carter. The officer's radio crackled as he called it, in voice suddenly sharp and urgent. Backup was requested. The man by the patrol car wasn't just a kidnapper anymore. He was something far worse. By the time they climbed back out, the mood above had shifted. Relief gave way to horror as the truth spread quietly through the crowd. Parents pulled children close. Someone began to cry again, not from fear this time, but from realization. Rex sat in the snow, chest rising and falling steadily, eyes fixed on the patrol car. The man noticed. Their eyes met for a brief second. Rex growled. The man looked away first. Later, when the crowd thinned and the storm finally broke, Mark knelt beside Rex near the town square. Christmas lights still blinked overhead, stubborn and cheerful, as if nothing had happened. "You didn't just save her," Mark said softly. "You stopped something worse." Rex leaned against him, tired now, The work was done. But somewhere in Hollow Creek, people would remember this Christmas differently. They would remember the night when the snow tried to hide the truth and failed, because a dog refused to stop listening. By Christmas morning, Hollow Creek was quiet in a way it had never been before. Snow lay untouched across the streets, soft and clean, as if the night had been erased. The church bells rang again, slower this time, careful not to shatter the fragile calm. Families woke with gratitude and fear tangled together, holding their children longer than usual. Whispering thanks they didn't know how to say out loud. Rex lay near the fireplace in Mark's living room, his body sore, his paws raw from the cold. He slept, but not deeply. His dreams were restless, full of dark woods, heavy doors, and the echo of a child crying. Mark watched him quietly, coffee cooling in his hands. He hadn't stopped thinking about the cellar or about the way. Rex had known. Later that morning, after the town gathered for a subdued Christmas service, Mark found himself walking Rex toward the river again. The air was still, the sky pale and bright. It felt wrong to avoid the place, like pretending the truth didn't exist. They stopped near the old bridge. Rex's ears twitched. His tail wagged once, uncertain. This place held too many memories, not just from last night, but older ones. Buried ones, Mark sighed. "You've been here before, haven't you?" Rex didn't answer, of course. He simply sat, eyes fixed on the storm cellar door now sealed with police tape. Mark remembered something then. Rex hadn't always been his dog. 3 years ago, after a flood washed through Hollow Creek, Animal Control found Rex trapped near the railway, lying skinny, scarred, terrified of enclosed spaces. No collar, no microchip. Just fear and intelligence behind his eyes. Mark had adopted him without knowing much more. Now he wondered. Over the next few days, the truth unraveled slowly. The man in custody confessed to previous attempts, near misses. Suspicious behavior dismissed as coincidence. The cellar had been used before. The town had simply been lucky until this Christmas. News spread beyond Hollow Creek. Reporters arriving with cameras and questions. They asked about the hero dog, about instincts, about bravery. Mark answered what he could, but Rex avoided the attention, retreating to corners. Ears low, he wasn't a hero to himself. He was a survivor. One afternoon, a social worker visited Mark's home. She brought files, old reports, photographs faded with time. Among them was one image that made Mark's breath catch. A younger Rex, same eyes, same scar on the ear. The report explained it simply. Rex had once been found in another town. Years earlier, near an illegal holding site tied to the same man, then only a suspect, never charged. The dog had escaped during a police raid. The case went cold, Rex had remembered. That night, Mark sat on the floor beside him, hand resting gently on his back. "You weren't just protecting Emily," he said quietly. "You were protecting yourself. And everyone else." Rex sighed, pressing closer. Christmas passed quietly after that. Gifts felt smaller. Food tasted the same, but carried more meaning.